So we've been kind of out of pocket with the camper for several months because of some repairs.
I've had itchy feet. I can't say that for anybody else. I have had itchy feet.
Yeah, we have not been camping since 4th of July when we went to Huntington Beach.
So,
and here it is now, Labor Day weekend. So we've gone 2 months.
which is our longest stretch.
Yeah,
really.
It's been
Especially in the summer.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to take a long stretch over like Christmas and January, but
So
July and August was hard.
Once we finally got the camper in a shop where they started working on it, and we had a date of when we knew we were done, when we would have the camper back, I said, okay, we've got to try and find a site. And it's summertime in South Carolina. All these campgrounds are booked up, especially the really good ones.
And I mean, everything was booked up. We looked at,
we looked at.
We would have gone back to Barnwell. We liked that. We'd gone to Croft, or
I was starting to look
we
at
started looking at some of the county parks
and some of the other parks, and I'd resigned myself to the fact that may be the case. So I just put it out there in a Facebook group that if there's anybody that's going to be canceling anything, let me know. We're open to whatever you've got. And a friend of mine, thank you, Brett Bishop. Brett messaged and said, well, we've actually booked that weekend at Edisto Beach and we can't go. I said, Edisto?
Are you kidding? He texted me. He's like, we might have an option to go to Edisto if you want it. I was like, did you take it already? Are we timing out in this? You like, book it. It's Edisto.
Yeah. So I called him back and said, all right, let's head to Edisto. So we're going to try something different in this video. We're going to break it up into 2 parts. We're going to talk first about one of the most unbelievable experiences we had here with the turtle tour, and then the campground itself. And then we'll do a second video about our excursions away, Botany Bay, and hopefully a place for dinner tonight here shortly. So the first one, all about the park and all about the turtle experience.
The turtles.
Awesome. So check it out. All right, I'm gonna put a pause on this video real quick. I've wanted to give a live update. As I'm editing this video, Mother Nature stepped in and Hurricane Ian has arrived. As I'm recording this little segment, Hurricane Ian just came ashore, roughly the Myrtle Beach, Pawleys Island area, somewhere in there. The winds here, I'm about 1.5 hours inland. I don't know what you can see behind me, probably not a lot. We've had winds around 25 miles an hour for gusts. We've had a couple inches of rain. Luckily for Edisto, it seems like the storm has largely stayed east, so it's gone up north. They've got a lot of rain, but it looks like the storm surge was not really affecting them very much. And we'll find out over the next day or two, but I have been watching today on the webcam that they have at Edisto. It doesn't look like the storm surge got all the way up to the dunes, or it just got right to the dunes. So the dunes look like they largely are probably going to be spared, which means the campground, while probably had some flooding, it usually drains out pretty well. Hopefully the campground should be in pretty good shape. Unfortunately for the northern parks, Huntington Beach, Myrtle Beach State Park, and those parks up closer to the Grand Strand, I don't think they probably fared quite as well. I was watching the Ocean Lakes Family Campground webcam. It looks like their dunes got hit really hard. There was some flooding in the park. I'm sure it's going to drain out well. They will be able to rebuild back pretty quick, but if you're going to have reservations in the next day or two, probably going to be difficult to get in. Hopefully, we're going to Ocean Lakes in a couple weeks for Halloween weekend. I hope they get it all cleaned up and we're going to be ready for a fun Halloween. So that's an update. I'm going to put it back to our regular video on Edisto. So this video is brought to you by Brett Bishop. Thank you, Brett. Appreciate this site.
Yeah, it's been an amazing trip.
So once we knew that we needed to try and find a site in fairly short order, which is hard to do in South Carolina because these things get booked out, our friend Brett, who is the catering manager at Baker's Sweets in Sumter, South Carolina. If you were in Sumter, please go by and
eat something.
They didn't give us any money for this, but we got this site for him, so I'm considering this sponsored by Brett Bishop and the folks at
great coffees, great cakes, great food.
Yes,
I like the Tavern ham and egg breakfast sandwich.
So when we got here, and we were kind of planning, all right, we're going to be getting down there Labor Day weekend. We're going to get in on Friday, head out on Monday. I was looking at their website and I saw that they have brought back the turtle inventory. So the way this works, every morning there's a group of volunteers and park staff that go out and walk the beach. I think it's a 1.5 mile long beach here. They walk it and look for signs of turtle nests that have been laid overnight
or emerged.
Yeah. So they start off, once they see one, they number it, they stake it off. We found out when we were at Huntington Beach, they dig down and remove one egg from each nest so that they can do a DNA test on it that day, and then they cover it and watch it. 45 to 60 days later, the little hatchlings emerge at some point in the night. So in the mornings, not only are they looking for nests, now they're looking for signs of hatched nests.
Basically at this time of year, they're really just looking for ones that have emerged. The nest, they call them, they've boiled to the surface, and they're kind of getting an idea. And then three days minimum, 5 days maximum, they will go back and do an inventory. So they dig the whole thing up, count how many eggs have hatched, they count how many didn't hatch, and every once in a while there's a stray baby turtle.
Yes.
Still in there.
So they do the public inventory every Wednesday and Friday night, starting at the main center on the beach, 6:30. They try to do about 3 nests for the public viewing and invite everybody to come along. And they did a great job of kind of explaining the turtles and the nesting process and the life cycle and how that works.
She was really explaining a lot of it at the very first nest until the volunteer said, "We have turtles," and there was 2 at first, and there was another one, and there was 4, and the baby turtles basically blew up the poor lady's little talk, and she got to explain more at the other couple nests, but because there were turtles, it all kind of went haywire at that point. The crowd got excited about the turtles.
It was neat to see the baby turtles themselves, and got to see the shells that had
erupted.
Turtles emerge, and then they took the 4 baby sea turtles out and they put them down so they could try and walk to the ocean, and we drew enough of a crowd.
There's a big enough crowd of us
that the seagulls saw what was going on and decided they were going to come in and try and find a free dinner. So they decided to scoop them back up and have us move on, and then one of the volunteers quietly
dumped them in the ocean,
dipped them in on their own so that the seagulls didn't.
But they have to walk into the ocean at least a little bit, so there's iron in their brains that tell them where they are in the world, and it's just amazing. The whole thing is fascinating. It was cool. The kids were just blown away.
So the first nest that we saw, they found 4. And it was a really pretty healthy nest. I want to say it was around 90.
There was only 1 or 2 that weren't hatched.
Yeah, there was very few that were unhatched. The second nest that we went to, there was 1 baby sea turtle, and again 4 or 5 unhatched, a good size. And then it was a little bit smaller nest. I think it was only 68 or something like that.
74 in that one.
Yeah, something. And then the last one, there was no live turtles. There was a large number that had not hatched.
It was almost 50-50. It was 49 and hatched and 37. 37. It was 86 total.
Yes.
There was about 45 and 45, the hatched, non-hatched. but there had been evidence, and she was like, oh, this is the one the raccoon got.
Yeah.
So there was one that, I mean, or at least this one, there's probably more than that they knew a raccoon had gotten to before they had covered it and marked it and all the things. And so there was evidence of a dead turtle in there because of that, and then and it wasn't as healthy, and probably had been because of the disturbance.
Yeah, so it was neat. And then this morning we got up early to go see the sunrise and to see if there was any indication that we could find of any nests that had erupted overnight. Unfortunately, we didn't see any newly emerged nests, but we did find them doing another inventory. So that's when they typically like to do their inventories, early in the morning. But they save some for the public.
They do save some for the public. And it's an education piece. It's a knowledge piece about why you should save the turtles. What are you doing? What's, you know.
So if you're staying at Edisto and you want to get up early in the morning, go look for the ladies in the
like a ranger
in the
thing.
Little ATV, because they're going to be around doing an inventory. It's really neat. It was kind of neat this morning. We went through the thing Friday night. We heard the spiel and how she did. She just instantly turned it on again today with all new people, even though it wasn't a planned public thing.
She was quick to. There was a family from Kentucky.
Right.
And they were like, what are you doing? What's going on? And she was like, oh, this is a life cycle sea turtle, and this is how we do it. And it was so cool. My kids, it was just, and they let them count that, like, they don't get to touch anything because you don't want, what's on them. But they, put them in stacks of 10, and they asked, the player got to come out and count how many were which. And it's just an amazing, I mean, I think it would have been super cool even if we hadn't seen baby turtles, but the baby turtles, of course, took it up a notch.
Turtle season here goes from, they start to nest in May and goes through October. They say they had tied their record for number of nests here at the state park this year. The island as a whole, which includes the city, which is south of here, they set their record this year. We were at Botany Bay this morning. Botany Bay was close to their record. 2019 was their record, which happened to be the record they tied here. Botany Bay, which is also still on the island, they had over 500.
It's also a very restricted beach. There's just certain hours you can go, and
so the more
the turtles were like, this is quiet, let's go here.
Yeah, the more secluded areas, the turtles,
and no lights.
Yeah, the turtles had more success. So neat thing about here. And Huntington Beach, Hunting Island, Myrtle Beach, not as much, but the other three, they do have turtle programs, so check those out. Check their website, because like at Huntington Beach, they do an inventory, but they don't do it as regimented as they do here.
And but the guy would send out emails like, hey, we're going to go do inventories on this day and that day, and they'll know when that's going to happen. They are great about letting people come and be a part of it because they want to educate you about the sea turtles. Only 1 in 1,000 sea turtles lives to adulthood, which is the 30-year mark. 1 in 1,000. They have to be 30 to be mature enough to lay eggs. So that one little guy that we, watched go into the ocean, he's 1 in 1,000 that's going to make it. And so the more we can learn about him and the more we can be educated about him.
One of the things we learned at Huntington Beach at the state park, at the nature center, was they started doing these DNA samples. I mentioned they extract 1 egg from each nest right as they're born. They've been able to do DNA samples now from Georgia,
South Carolina,
and North Carolina,
and some Florida,
and parts of Florida. What they found is changed the way that they think that sea turtles breed. What they found out, they used to think that when a sea turtle was born on this beach, for example, they would come back and only lay their nests here on this beach. That's not the case. What they found out was these mama sea turtles were laying multiple clutches throughout the season all along the coast. They found one turtle that had a nest in Georgia, had a nest in South Carolina, and had a nest in North Carolina, all within 3 weeks of each other. So she was working her way up the coast laying nests. They've also found, we learned this here, they found a sea turtle in Florida. They found the mother's DNA, so she had to be at least 30. They found the grandmother's DNA, so she had to be at least 60. And they found the great-grandmother's DNA. She had to be at least 90, probably older than that, all on the same beach within the same couple weeks of each other. So what they're
solitary creatures, but they still like move in kind of the same circles.
Yeah, it's remarkable what they're learning about these sea turtles from the DNA. And we also learned that from when they hatch here, these little itty bitty baby sea turtles that are 2 inches maybe will swim over 100 miles offshore. There's these masses of things of seaweed
or in kelp forests
and kelp that they gather around, and it gives them protection and also gives them food, and they will live there exclusively for 10 years. Once they get 10, they're only about the size of a dinner plate, and that's when they begin to start to emerge and start to swim off into other parts, and it's not until they're 30 that they're able to become mature.
The other thing that I thought was interesting is it's not a DNA thing either about if like she doesn't lay a bunch of eggs and it's like, okay, it's a 50 boys and 50 girls or whatever. It is solely dependent upon the temperature during the nesting cycle. So if it's really warm, then there's going to be more girls. If it's if it's cooler, like if the nest had been laid like in May and hatched in June, then it's probably mostly males. The nests that like we saw get dug up that got laid in August and sat through like the warmest part
August, yep.
of late July, August, that sat through the hottest seasons, they were mostly girls. It's so interesting to me how the difference and how that works.
It's an awesome program, so definitely check it out here, check it out at the other parks. Quickly, we'll kind of go over the campground. In our previous video, we were here last year for Edisto. We talked a lot about the campground. I had some neat drone footage from then. It's been windier here this year, so I haven't been able to get quite as much drone footage. But I will kind of point out a couple things, questions that I've seen often asked on different Facebook groups about the park. The first thing is, the first number of sites, like 1 through, I don't remember, 15, 16, something like that first loop right close to the dunes, people will say, oh, I'm looking at the picture, I'm looking at the site size, and I think my camper will fit, but it says that it can't be more than 12 feet or something like that. And it's because of the road. That road is so narrow.
Like this one.
And it is so tight as you wind through there, there's no way you're gonna fit a rig in that area. So don't even try it. All of those along those dunes, they're beautiful. They're awesome sights because you're going to hear the ocean crash overnight.
I was like, the mosquitoes seem kind of bad to me.
The mosquitoes might be a little.
But we have seen there's like a little one right now. There's people with tent trailer trucks with the tents on top. There's a pop-up or two.
Yeah.
But you aren't going to want to pull a rig through.
No,
that.
I would not suggest it. Now, you go further down the end where the big loop is, you could fit some big rigs down there. It's more open.
Okay. Apparently we have a bike problem.
You need to get this more.
Okay, I'll do it in here in just a minute, okay? Give me just a minute.
Give me some love.
Are you still in the video?
Yeah. So yeah, down at the end of this beachfront side, the big open loop, you can fit some big rigs down there. And there's some big rigs in the center island between the marsh and that dune side.
But you don't want to go down that.
Yeah, you don't want to go down that one.
No. Just being in the Tahoe, even there was some parts I'm like, woo! And even because have people, I mean, you're going to take up your space, and so they're camping to the edge of the road. Yeah. It's tight.
One other thing that we've learned since our last video, we had some friends that came down and stayed in the cabins here. Now the cabins, I respect the rules, and the rules say you can't go down that road unless you're staying in the cabins, so I don't have video.
We didn't go there.
But we did have some friends that stayed there. It's over on the other side of the causeway. They said the view of the marsh was beautiful.
Gorgeous.
And they really enjoyed the cabins. So a little quick plug for them if you're not an RVer and you're just curious about Edisto. The cabins seem to be well worth it,
and there's
the
a good bit
really
of day trip kind of things. I mean, so there's parking here. There's a playground. People had, like today, we went to the store for a sec at the end of the day, and so there was, you know, there's a decent amount of parking. There's not a ton, and they will shut it down.
It was shut down when we came back from
because
Botany
we had to
Bay.
be like, we are camping here. But there was a really nice playground. There's beach access, and a couple of places there's showers to rinse off in.
Yeah. One thing about Edisto is kind of unique for a beach community in South Carolina. They have really limited the development, and it's, to me, it looks like a community from the 1960s
or earlier even
of a beach community. There's very little development. It's kind of in just a small little pocket of the island. So there's only one grocery store.
And a lot of the houses are still like a stilt level and the house level, especially right at the front.
Yeah,
it's the beginning.
So it's quite, you're not going to get a lot of the amenities. There's not the surf shops. There's not the touristy stuff that you get.
There's a food line and a liquor store and an ice cream parlor, and we're like looking at one of 3 places I think there is to eat.
Yes. So and now, granted, the grocery store is across the street from the gate, so it's close, it's convenient, and they have pretty much anything that you want. So,
there's not a Dollar General, y'all.
Yeah, there's not a Dollar General on Edisto Island anywhere. Another question I had asked on Facebook: what is the difference between Edisto Island and Edisto Beach? Edisto Island is actually a rather large island. When you come across the big bridge and then you come in and Marsh Hen Mill is on your right, at that point you are on the island of Edisto Island. But Edisto Beach is actually the municipality of the city of Edisto Beach. And it starts as soon as you cross the causeway in the state park. So as soon as you get that causeway, you are now in the city of Edisto Beach. So just a little bit of information about the area.
Tidbit trivia.
And the island is it's big. There's a lot here. There's Botany Bay. There's a lot of development. They're trying to keep the development fairly small.
Well, but there's a nice little park where this weekend there had been a shag festival, which we didn't make it to.
Yeah, we rode by. We were wiped out last night.
Yeah. We rode by. I mean, but we also have been down there for the Governor's Cup. There's big fishing and on that end because you do have the marsh and there's a big marina down there. So there is stuff, but there's not tourist trap stuff. It's not tourist trap like, which I mean, tourist trap has its place. I love me some Myrtle Beach. It's just different. It's a different atmosphere.
Absolutely. And speaking of the marina, great seafood here. There's a couple different places to get seafood. Any of them are good. Try those.
They're all real fresh.
Yeah. Yesterday we were out at the beach and we watched the shrimp boat go by, and he's out there fishing.
They were so close you could almost read the thing on his shirt. Like they were right there.
And I have a feeling those shrimp are in somebody's pot tonight.
And we're gonna go see if we can find some.
They might be on our dinner table here shortly. So we really love Edisto. Hopefully next video we'll get out. We'll talk about the excursion where we're going to go try and find somewhere to eat, and about our trip to Botany Bay this morning. Oh, it was really, really neat.
So cool.
Yep. So check that one out coming up here shortly. Thanks.